Thank you very much. And thank you to our host, and especially the LPPM Catholic University, and to Henri Simarmata, whom I'm pleased to greet this morning. So it's an honor for me to join this critical discussion on agroforestry and human rights and peasants' rights as COP30, which is dealing with solutions on climate change, is taking place now in Brazil. Maybe just to present first myself. So my name is Genevieve Savigny, and I'm one of the five persons that are member of the working groups on the rights of peasants and other people working in rural area. And I'm really, as a member of this working group on the right of peasants, my mandate is not just to promote this declaration, but also to actively monitor its implementation and to help translate the rights from paper into practice in the fields, in the forests, and in the policies that shape them. So the five members come from, maybe to clarify a little how it works, we come from the five regions of the world. That is, I'm from Western Europe, but we have also a member from Eastern Europe, one from Africa, another woman is from Asia, and we have a member from Latin America, from Colombia. And we are all working together to promote the rights contained that are in the UN Declaration on the Rights of Peasants, but also to help monitor. Our methods of work are really, we have to write reports for the UN General Assembly and also to the Human Rights Council every year, gathering information on specific issues related to the rights of peasants. So every year we choose which topic we are going to address and how we are going to receive information from the rights holders, but also from the states, to be able to have to look at the testimonies with this human rights perspective and be able to present recommendations to the states, to the right holders, but also to other relevant and all the persons, institutions, organizations that are involved in the situation. We can also receive kind of complaints that we are going to treat with this human rights perspective, with the UNDROP perspective, on specific cases that are happening in different countries, in different regions, due to states, but also due to other non-state actors, especially companies and so on, how they are affecting the life of some categories of peasants or specific persons. And this will be our role to instruct, to inform, and to address those who are responsible for the attacks, to reply to the situation. We are also, we can also do some country visits, but so far, as our group has started only in 2024, we haven't been able to do any country visit, and we really regret it because it's really how we could get to know better all the situation that we are facing. And we also can participate in these different events, seminars, conferences like this one, and to be able to share what we can, all that we can about the situation and about the human rights. Maybe about UNDROP, about the UN Declaration on the Rights of Peasants. Maybe it is important I will not give very long description, but it is maybe important to remind that it is a declaration, an instrument that has been forged at the beginning by peasants' organizations themselves that sought to defend their rights within the UN system. And it started from the LVC, from the Via Campesina member in Indonesia, the SPI, who sought to gather support from other producers' organizations like peasants, fisher, pastoralists, indigenous people, and and then from some NGOs and from states, and especially Bolivia, that carried the long process of the declaration along, and the UN at the Human Rights Council, and then at the General Assembly. The UNDROP was adopted in 2018, and now it provides a tool. It's a new tool for all peasants in the world, but also to states and international institutions, including all NGOs, academics, and all that are dealing with food systems, with environment, development, justice, and human rights, to defend the most vulnerable food producers in the world. And I will come back to that a bit later. So really, this declaration is a vital instrument for implementation. It is an essential ethical and practical toolkit. It's a normative framework for our collective research and advocacy. Your work on agroforestry is not just a technical or environmental subject. It is fundamentally a human rights imperative. And it is really important to include it in all the work. And in the discussions about the future of food systems and environment, that is including in forest and all natural nature. Maybe it is important to remind also that for decades, the rural population, who are the primary stewards of our ecosystems, have faced systemic marginalization from an industrial food system that seeks primarily profit, productivity, that seeks to streamline processes and agrarian systems, and externalizes its costs. And this model is increasingly recognized as a key driver of the twin crises of biodiversity loss and climate change. But maybe you are all aware that it's not recognized by everybody, and this discussion is really ongoing everywhere. What can fix the climate crisis, and what can fix also the biodiversity crisis? And very often we find that techno fixes and more modernization, more financial instruments are put forward. Now, maybe just also to remind, who are the rights holders in UNDROP and in agroforestry. In the declaration, in Article 1, it is very clearly defined. It defines peasants in broad and inclusive terms. It explicitly covers small-scale producers as any person who engages or seeks to engage, alone or in community, in small-scale agricultural production for subsistence and or for the market, and who works with his family, but not only, and who has a special dependency and attachment to the land. Those words are really important. So this declaration includes the landless, seasonal workers. Crucially, it includes those engaged in pastoralism, fishing, forestry, hunting, or gathering. It also includes handicraft and all the family dependent on the activity. This is a broad definition to match the reality of food production, which is reliant on diverse natural resources, which is also dependent on the history and on policies affecting food production. And the very people at the center of your research are the right holders defined and protected by this declaration. I can also add that many people that are relevant to your research, I guess, are also considered as indigenous people and will also depend on the UNDROP, the UN Declaration on the Right of Indigenous People. And it is clear that the Declaration on Peasants has been designed taking into account the UNDROP, and it is also mentioned in several places in the declaration to make sure that there is no way to diminish or to impeach the rights of indigenous people. So if you know about the UNDROP, so it is a document that gathers all the rights that are relevant to peasants. It has been also designed as a tool for peasants themselves to be able to read it and to to see at once all the rights that are necessary for them to exert their trade, to be able to thrive in their environment. And there are 28 articles, and they gather all the rights that are other, I would say, universal human rights, but adapted to rural people. And then you have also some specific rights that will be more designed for food producers, for peasants. And this will relate especially to land, seeds, and I will describe some of them now to see how it can also highlight the discussions on agroforestry. And I will go through some points. So your concept note states that agroforestry is often forced to be a referee in the competition between conservation and exploitation. And UNDROP provides the normative principles and based on human rights. So it codifies the specific rights that form the legal and social foundation for the agroecological system, including agroforestry that you study. With this conference discusses community-managed agroforestry and resource competition, you are invoking the right to land. So you have the right to land under Article 17. It is central. It upholds the right to access, sustainably use and manage land, and demands a specific legal recognition of customary land tenure. This Article 17, which is all about the right to land, but also the right to territories, because it also concerns waters for fishing and all the different resources, is reinforced by the Article 5, which is the right to natural resources. The right to natural resources empowers communities to participate in the management of those resources, and that make them true right holders and not only stakeholders in the situation, in the broader situation. The Article 18 protects the right to the conservation and protection of the environment and the productive capacity of the land, which is really linked to the ethical values and the intergenerational equity that you are mentioning in the presentation of this seminar. There is also in the Article 20 the right to biodiversity, which explicitly protects traditional forestry and agroecological systems. So it is really legally recognizing the practices that you are discussing upon. It is also important, as biodiversity is concerned, to mention the right to seed, which is described in the Article 19, with the right for peasants to save, use, exchange, and sell their farm-saved seeds. And it's very precisely described how to protect the right to seeds for peasants in relation also with the Plant Treaty. You are also advocating for local sustainable food systems, and the right to food is described in the Article 15, also with the right to food sovereignty, which is the right for the people to choose their food system, and which give the duty for the states also to organize and to put in place policies that enable this food sovereignty. Women, which are mentioned as being the primary carers of agroforestry, is precisely described in Article 4 with the rights of peasant women, with all the different elements that make the rights of women reality on the ground. So this is how very briefly, how this declaration can highlight the different points that are important to practice agroforestry. Maybe it could be also precise that agroforestry is also a part of agroecology, and agroecology is also a way to develop farming. It is important to implement this UNDROP and also to present it in higher education institutions, and I guess your project is also going to try to implement and to use UNDROP in the discussion about agroforestry. And maybe you have also some articles which are pushing states and all other actors to promote the concept of the declaration. In Article 2 and 3, you have it is precise that it requires consultation and cooperation in good faith with peasants and through their representative institutions before policies and projects are adopted. Maybe I can also recall what is contained in UNDROP, which recognizes free, prior, and informed consent before any project is carried out. So it's important to know those two aspects, that agroforesters, indigenous people, peasants have to be taken into account in any projects. In Article 26, it is also precise that you need to protect the rights to maintain, control, develop traditional and local knowledge and methods of production. So it's more than just dialogue, it is really taking into account traditional methods of work. And in Article 25 and 19, it calls for equitable and participatory farmer-scientist partnership that mandates that research and development integrates the needs of peasants. Research is really important, and you may have mentioned the work of Olivier de Schutter on promoting agroecology. So it is time also to promote agroforestry as part of all the methods that enable sustainable use of resources, but also respecting the human rights of peasants. Maybe I don't know how long I have taken, but I think it is time for me to wrap up and to encourage to use UNDROP in all your work. And similarly, it is also important for us as a promoter of the rights to use all this work that you may be doing in university, in different institutions, to really highlight that defending human rights is not just a question of justice, it is also a question of taking care of resources, taking care of the land, of environment. And I really encourage you to look at the work that we are doing on our website of the UN Human Rights Council, and to be able to feed into our questions. We are going to make a report on land next year. The special rapporteur on the right to food is also doing a report on land. So there's a lot to feed into the discussion to prove that also agroecology, agroforestry provides food, provides income, and to feed into the discussions so that we are able to have really a good interconnection and really work at the interdisciplinary approach, which is really what is needed to have good policies. And we can see in different international arenas that are taking place, like the COP, but like also the Committee on Food Security, how important it is to mix our different approaches, to have a really meaningful discussion and to have good policies and maybe a good future for all of us. So thank you again for inviting me and for your attention. Thank you.